What if Genesis isn't just about creation and sin, but the opening of a cosmic war between God's angels and rebel powers? Welcome to Mysteries of the Word, where we uncover the Bible's hidden depths using scripture and ancient writings. Today's question: did early Jews believe Genesis tells the story of a supernatural war? Genesis 2 describes a beautiful garden, but Ezekiel 28 calls Eden the holy mountain of God. Ancient Jews believed Eden wasn't just a paradise, it was a temple, the meeting point between heaven and earth. Adam wasn't just a gardener, he was a priest-king, serving in sacred space. Genesis 3 says, "The serpent was more cunning than any beast." But Eve doesn't scream or act surprised when it speaks. Why? Some ancient texts, like 1 Enoch and the Wisdom of Solomon, describe Satan as a radiant, supernatural being. Ezekiel 28 describes a rebel in Eden. "You were the seal of perfection, on the holy mountain of God." The serpent may have appeared as glorious, even trustworthy, maybe a divine being from God's heavenly court. That's why Eve wasn't scared. She may have thought he belonged there. The serpent deceives, Eve falls, Adam follows. But this isn't just about fruit. It's the opening strike in a spiritual rebellion, a heavenly being turning humanity against God. Genesis 3:15 is God's first promise of redemption. "I will put enmity between you and the woman. He will crush your head." Ancient Jews saw this as a prophecy of a coming child who would destroy the serpent's power. Genesis 6 tells a strange story. The sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful. Ancient Jewish texts like 1 Enoch say these sons of God were rebellious angels. They took human wives, and their offspring were giants, Nephilim, who corrupted the earth. God sends the flood, not just to cleanse sin, but to stop the spread of this unnatural bloodline. Jude 6 says, "The angels who did not stay within their own domain are kept in chains until judgment." This view was widespread before Jesus' time. After the flood, people try to unify at Babel. God responds by scattering them and confusing their language. But ancient Jewish tradition says more happened. Deuteronomy 32:8-9, Dead Sea Scroll version, says, "God divided the nations according to the number of the sons of God, but the Lord's portion is Jacob. God disinherited the nations and assigned them to spiritual rulers, members of his heavenly council. But these rulers became corrupt." Psalm 82 says, "You are gods, but you will die like men." From this point on, Yahweh begins a new plan, calling Abraham to create a people that would restore the nations. This supernatural view was common among Jews and early Christians, but by 400 AD, it began to fade, mainly due to Augustine of Hippo. In City of God, Augustine taught that the sons of God were human descendants of Seth, not angels. The Nephilim became symbols, not real giants. The serpent was simply Satan in disguise, not a member of the divine council. Why the change? The church wanted to avoid teachings that sounded like myths. Books like 1 Enoch were no longer considered scripture. Focus shifted to personal sin and salvation, not cosmic beings. But scripture still hints at this cosmic battle. Paul says in Ephesians 6, "Our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against rulers, authorities, and spiritual forces of evil." And Revelation tells us that the ancient serpent, Satan, will one day be crushed, just like God promised in Genesis 3:15. Genesis isn't just about the past, it's a pattern, a blueprint for a war still raging, a war that ends in victory. Thanks for watching Mysteries of the Word. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe for more biblical mysteries every week, and let us know in the comments, do you think the serpent was more than a snake? See you next time.